Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Emily.
And you are watching That Christian Vlogger. We like to say that this is a place where you get to join us and experience faith in the first person. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about why we are vegetarian.
Ooh.
Now, when we first met, Emily, when we had our very first date, we went to Thai food and you were very surprised. Why was that?
Because he was vegetarian and I grew up vegetarian. That's the way I was raised. And so many of the other guys I dated weren't vegetarian. Oh, I eat meat, it's a macho thing, all these things. And they like meat when they eat out. And so I was really surprised when I met a guy that's vegetarian. It's like, yay!
Now we can, you told me now we can share our food.
I know.
And how often do we share our food?
A lot. You don't like to share, but...
I hate it.
Anyways, so I was really stoked when he said he was vegetarian.
Yeah, so we actually are vegetarian, and this is a question that we've gotten in the past before. Why are we vegetarian in general, or does the Bible actually have to say anything about it? And for me, that actually is where it came in. I did not grow up vegetarian. I grew up eating meat for every single meal of the day. It was basically just meat and rice as often as I could, often as I can manage, and that was pretty much what I grew up with. Fried chicken, Korean barbecue. I loved meat. And even to this day, when we're driving past a certain a barbecue spot or anything else like that, and I smell it, I start salivating and I start wanting it again. So
yeah.
There's a lot of people who become vegetarian say stuff like, when you're vegetarian long enough, you're not gonna crave the meat anymore. This is at least what they told me. And to all of you people who say that stuff, I call you all liars.
So why did you become vegetarian then?
Okay, so there's a story in the book of Daniel. And by the way, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that everyone has to be vegetarian or you're sinning if you're not a vegetarian or anything else like that. It's more it's a good thing to do. It's not a requirement, but I think, according to the Bible, there's a lot to argue for that it's good, and a lot according to the science and the literature. As far as health is concerned, it's a good thing to be doing. The Bible says in 3 John that God desires us to be in good health even as our soul prospers. In other words, God doesn't only want us to thrive spiritually, but also to thrive physically. And an example of that we see is in the book of Daniel, where Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, basically they were kind of being forced to eat King Nebuchadnezzar's meat. And the wine that they drank and all that kind of stuff. And basically they said, I don't want to do this. Just give us 10 days of eating only vegetables. And at the end of those 10 days, the Bible says that they were they looked better, their skin was better, they were stronger. They're basically, after just 10 days of trying it, they were significantly better off health-wise, which makes sense because in the book of Genesis, when God created Eden, in a perfect environment, the diet that God gave humanity was a vegetarian diet, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why you became vegetarian.
Yeah, we were in a Bible study in California, and the guy was talking about it, and he's talking about how much God used Daniel to accomplish these amazing things, all the dreams that he interpreted, all the amazing world change that he was talking about. We talked about on a few videos ago about success, how Daniel is one of the most successful people, and the guy was making the argument that likely he wouldn't have had nearly as much success if he wasn't first successful in the area of his diet, because the reality is how you feel. And how you eat and whether you exercise and how you sleep actually has an impact on how you perform at your job, in your ministry, in your relationships, things like that. When you're sick or when I'm sick, we don't do very well.
Mm-hmm. So did you feel an abrupt change after you stopped eating meat, or was it a cure, a miracle? I've got energy now or something?
Not at all. In fact,
tell them about your strict diet. You probably felt better.
Well, okay, so when I first became a vegetarian, coming from a place where I only ate meat and rice, and actually I really, really hated at that time. I really hated the taste of fruits. I didn't even eat apples or oranges. So I came from basically eating no fruits and stuff like that to trying to become a vegetarian, which was really difficult. So my version of vegetarianism for the first couple months was eating pizza and burgers, or veggie burgers and mac and cheese. Yeah, all this kind of terrible stuff. But I knew that wasn't where I was headed. I was trying to slowly phase in certain healthier foods, but I had to kind of use a crutch at that time. So I was eating a lot of cheese and stuff like that. Oddly enough, This was in college, and there was this girl, this white girl named Emily. Not this Emily, ironically, a different white girl named Emily, who we were talking a little bit, and we were kind of like, basically we were trying to, we were going out in a certain sense. And she would always like force me to eat different fruits and stuff like that. And she actually really helped me because, she kind of like forced it down my throat a little bit. So it definitely was not a quick change, because my diets right when I decided to become vegetarian was much more of a transitionary diet than it was like a healthy vegetarian diet.
And then like he went through a super like big challenge, it's like the 8-week challenge where he only ate vegetables and legumes or something.
Yeah. So if you've ever seen like the Whole30 challenge, or like it's kind of big in like the CrossFit paleo world, there's like a vegetarian and a vegan version of it where it basically is no meat, no dairy, no breads, no processed sugar. Like it basically was nothing other than like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes.
How did you feel during that time?
That was definitely the time that I felt the best of my life. I did that for like a series of 8 weeks, and I was working out consistently, and that was when I was at like my leanest. I was like at like a 6% body fat, and I was like really, really strong for my body weight. That was when I was competing in weightlifting and stuff like that. And I was doing really, really well. So like not only was my health better, my strength was up, my endurance was up, and it was easily the time in my life where I was the most healthy and the most fit. So, I think it's really cool because there's a lot of people who are trying at the whole vegetarian or vegan thing that are like professional athletes, whether they're triathletes, they're MMA fighters, or even I think there's a handful of football players. It's certainly not as much because they have to be much more bulky. But a lot of people are trying it, and it's really cool to see how this lifestyle makes a difference.
Yeah. And I'm nowhere perfect myself, because you can be an unhealthy vegetarian and an unhealthy vegan. Oreos are vegan. Potato chips are vegan. Like, I think there's a balance, like, with eating. Like, oh, don't eat, like, 5 bad meals in a row, but having balance and, like, okay, like, if you, like, have one French fry, it's not going to kill you, you know? Like, having balance is key, because then, like, you're going to go overboard. I'm like, man, I'm really craving this, and then you, like, restrict everything. But just definitely, like, having more of a plant-based diet is super healthy. I like to, like, listen to health podcasts and things like that. And one of the ones I listen to, she's, like, a nutritionist in New York City, and she, like, works with movie stars and everything, having them get healthier and everything. And she's a vegan herself, and she was saying how even in the animal kingdom, certain animals are designed for being herbivores, and those are actually really strong ones. Like elephants are herbivores, gorillas are herbivores, and they get enough of the protein they need from plants, and they are like big muscular animals. And that's the same thing with humans. Like we don't need to get our protein from meats.
Yeah, unless you're trying to be like a competitive bodybuilder that's actively putting on like tons of weight, you really don't need nearly as much protein as you might think. It's kind of like they blow it out of proportion in the media and stuff like that. So you don't really need that as much. And something else I think I would talk about is like the longevity and the health benefit of it. So it's not even just like for me, I enjoyed it because it was like a sports performance thing. But we've talked about it before. Emily and I are Seventh-day Adventists, and Seventh-day Adventists are a branch of Christianity where we talk a lot about the importance of healthy living, and a disproportionate amount of Seventh-day Adventists are actually vegetarian and or vegan.
Yeah, that's why I grew up vegetarian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so what happens is the average Seventh-day Adventist, I think the average male lives almost like 10 years longer than the average non-Seventh-day Adventist male. And it's we attribute it simply because of this way of living, this healthful way of living. And so, there's a lot of benefits that come from just simply choosing to eat maybe less meats and more plants. And, for whatever reason, that seems to be the way that our bodies were designed to work and to function off, and we tend to thrive off of that.
I mean, I just don't have a taste for meat because I grew up vegetarian anyway. So, like, whenever I accidentally I order something at a restaurant and it accidentally has some meat in it, I can definitely tell. I'm just like, oh, I just don't like it.
I'm kind of like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So one little take-home piece of advice that I would offer to you guys, this is actually the thing that helps me the most now, because to this day, it's not like I sit down and just eat like a whole bowl full of vegetables or fruits or things like that. I still have to kind of force myself to do that. But the thing that I do love to do is I do love drinking really great smoothies. And that's an easy way to get a lot of vegetables and or fruits into your meals. And if you can find like good recipes online, then that's an easy way to up your plant intake and kind of balance out whatever else that you're doing. So again, I'm not trying to say that everybody that's watching this video, you need to become a vegetarian, because if not, you're a terrible person. Like some of the vegans on YouTube, we'll talk about it. And if any of them end up finding this video, they're probably gonna be really upset that I'm not advocating for veganism nearly strong enough. But I'm not like one of those radical vegans that say, oh, you're murderers and how could you possibly do this? And like, it's not, to me, it's not about that. I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying, if you want to live healthier, eat more plants and less meat. If you want to eat meat, totally cool, not a big deal. Yes, Jesus ate fish and all those other kind of counter arguments that people like to say. So I'm not trying to say that you must not eat meat. Just maybe eat less of it and eat more plants, and I think you'll find that your health will benefit, which is a good thing. We want to be healthy. We want to honor God in all aspects of our life, including our health, because the healthier we are, the more we can do for Him. But that's where we're going to leave this video with you guys. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Are you guys vegetarian? Are you vegan? Do you eat anything and everything your eyes happen to see? And what are you trying to do to live a healthier, more God-honoring life? Let us know in the comment section below.
But until next time, we're That Christian Vlogger, and we encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.